both of Alexander and some of Hercules, of Hector and Lysander, and such great names as these. But of all...
You guys like kumquats? Well, Stefan Amaris was a guy that really liked kumquats. He really liked them. They weren't that common back then. They were growing mostly on Terra or on some worlds that were purposely built to grow various forms of citrus. You had a few of those in the Rimworld's Republic, actually. The supply of kumquat was fairly small, and the demand was fairly high from various mid-tier nobles in the inner sphere and the periphery, so the price was kept fairly high for the producers. Of course, nowadays, if I was to tell you that, you would be very confused because everybody now knows what a kumquat looks like and what it tastes like. It's a citrus-like fruit, it's sweet, it makes fairly great juice, snacks, and you can include it in just about every form of fruit punch, salad, puree, or, even pies, whatever you really want to use. I'm not sure some people would even believe me if I told you that the cranberries used to be the standard filler in fruit juice and not kumquat juice. Well, yeah, that was all before Stefan Amaris passed Edict 79B7 in 2769, and that's when the price of kumquat really crashed.
Of national and intersidereal importance is the securing of the kumquat fruit by the Amaris Empire and its affiliate states of the Star League and periphery. As such, every planetary state must be able to grow and provide kumquats to its population in a fair and reasonable manner. A healthy diet comprised of this fruit will improve the national and intersidereal morale of all nations and bring people closer together in enjoyment of this simple delight. Opening lines of Edict 79-B7.
While most of the Star League lords didn't really care much for Stefan Amaris, paying lip service to the new emperor sounded like a good idea at the time, especially since it was for something fairly simple like increasing the supply of some dumb fruit. The Amaris Empire, or Terran Hegemony, whatever you decide to call it, started a massive plantation plan and genetic engineering plan in order to plant kumquat on every single world they controlled. The spending on this was in the hundred of billion of Star League dollar. It was rather insane, and it also forced a variety of a small plantation and orchard to dedicate a portion of their already limited space to the production of that fruit. The various Star League lords weren't too sure of how to react outside of nodding and going, yeah, sure, Steve, and just received money from the Edict and the program, which was clearly earmarked for it, and weirdly enough, there was very little corruption around that particular program. Honestly, this was a great fruit for people to eat as well. You've got high vitamin C, it provides a bit of calcium, which is always good for kids and older folk. It's got a very good source of dietary fibers, which is very nice for most people, and even has some protein. Sure, they are work-intensive and they require quite a bit of care, but it would get people working, which is also a very good thing for larger nations. I mean, the real reason for the whole thing was simple enough. Stefan Amaris wanted to be sure that whenever he went anywhere in Israel, which is what he considered the entire Star League to be, he would have access to his favorite food. Getting a 32-ounce rib steak in the prime ribs was not that difficult as long as you had quite a bit of money, but kumquats, those can get pretty difficult to get in some worlds because, well, you never know what's really going to happen, and transport is not that easy. At that point in time, I would say that most people in the inner sphere probably didn't even know what a kumquat looked like. But after 2 years of this particular program, even after fighting with General Kerensky and all sorts of other things, there was now kumquat seeds and product in most places. It was the good people at Chiquita, United Fruits, and Del Monte that saw this as a major opportunity. Del Monte is better known for hanging out in Combine space, but they have tendrils just about everywhere in the inner sphere and periphery. On the other end, Chiquita is hiding in the Free Worlds League at the time, and they had major concessions from the Kaplan Canopus and the Concordat. Both groups started massively engineering new kumquats variants and new kumquat plants in order to get them planted just about everywhere using some of the most advanced gene editing techniques of the time. All things that the clans would later use in order to create genetically engineered super animals, plants, and even people in the clan homeworld, if you want something that's a little bit more relevant to you military nerds out there. Of course, that did lead to two of the fruity boys getting into a bit of a trade war, and by trade war, I do mean drop Black Ops team on each other's research lab to try to blow them up and then try to fuck everybody up. People were waiting with bated breath for news of General de Chevalier, Kerensky, Antilos, Legos doing all sorts of crazy stuff during the Civil War. What they didn't usually notice was entire companies of battle max painted in red, green, and yellow, fighting guys in blue, yellow, and brown, over plantations of fruits and genetic sequences and various labs all over the inner sphere. Rastaman and Recurgulor did send some spies in, stole some of the genetic sequence, started planting some on cold Lyran worlds, because they had made kumquats for that as well. Big Pharma started putting down a lot of money in order to create hypoallergenic versions of the kumquat for the few people who had citric acid allergies, and that led to other people starting to fight each other and things blowing up. All of that good fun kept going even as the successor lords started to look at each other and wonder if they were going to be the new leader of the Star League after that little civil war was done. Kumquat used to be a major cash crop, but now it turned into a staple crop that everyone had and everyone needed. Kumquat cream pie is now a common dessert that everybody in the lower and middle class really enjoyed. Kumquats were provided in school lunch. You had kumquat limoncello, which was your typical summer evening drink for the common man with a little bit of class. Certain forms of kumquat were now inoffensive enough that they were used in filler in various other fruit products, like those fruit roll-up kind of things. Of course, the price of kumquat had crashed. It had gone from something that was worth a fortune to something that was, produced in massive amounts, and you got money out of making large amounts of them. Everyone had them, and generally in larger amount that they really wanted or needed, but, it's food. Food is always good. The kumquat is one of the reasons why a lot of people survived the First Succession War. With everything that was done to the darn thing, it could grow on irradiated soil, It even purified various irradiated soil once some good people got into it. Vitamin C deficiencies is really nasty on people with low income or in war zones, but with kumquats being that easy to get, well, that wasn't going to be a problem anymore. Kerensky took a whole bunch of kumquats and kumquat specialists with him during Operation Exodus. Of course, not always willingly. When Stratomecti was settled, guess what they planted? Well, of course, apples, because that's an easy one to plant, but also quite a few different variations of the kumquat tree. Clan warriors that came back to the inner sphere were impressed that our stuff tasted better than theirs, because, well, on clan worlds, most of them were set up as the artier type, which is generally a little bit less sweet. So yeah, there you go. You can blame Stefan Amaris for all sorts of things. Blame him for blowing up the entire inner sphere and leading to the succession wars. You can blame him for the Venus Doom Laser project. You could probably blame him for Kerensky leaving and the clans coming back. But if you're like my kids, the thing that you're probably going to blame him the most is having kumquat in just about every snack that they have, and having to have a kumquat with them every other day when they go to school, because it's still the cheapest thing to get. So I thank you very much for listening to me for so long. I hope you guys have a nice rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.